You look at what's the definition of an extraordinary relationship. I looked at
Yeah,
when I was looking for a business
I was
name. It's
gonna,
like,
I
you
was
know,
going to ask you that.
yeah, it's like,
I'm
and it's
curious to know these secrets of
well,
this extraordinary, your online community, secrets of extraordinary relationships. Like,
it's
how do you create an extraordinary relationship, in your opinion?
first of all, what does it look like for you? So for each of us, I'm going to have a very different idea. I'm going to have an idea of what an extraordinary relationship looks like to me. My wife is going to have an idea, a picture in her head of what an extraordinary relationship looks like for her. And so we then come together. Let's find out where we overlap. Hopefully, we overlap in some places or a lot of places. And the more that we
Hopefully,
overlap, the
yeah.
better. And then we work together at creating what we want to what we are co-creating together. So it's the first step is, where am I going? So the first two questions that we need to ask ourselves is, where am I going? Who's going to come with me? So this, if you're in a relationship already, I'll come back to you. So if you're single, it's like, where are you going? Which means,
Mhm.
where are you going in like 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Where do you want to be? What sort of lifestyle do you want to be having? 5-star lifestyle, 2-star lifestyle? How ambitious are you? How important is career? How important is family? How important is children? How important is great sex? How important is intimacy? How important is having a great relationship? What does a great relationship look like? It's how do you deal with money? What's your idea? What do you want? The next question is, who's going to come with me? So if you're a single person, it's not sort of like having a nice big ticker box list of people, that, oh, here's a person who's got these qualities. It's more like, what are the qualities that are really important to me in a partner, in a potential life partner? And coming back to question one, what do I want as far as relationship goes? Am I after just one night stands? Am I at that stage of life that I just want to embark upon a series of sex with strangers? Do I want to have friends with benefits? Do I want to have something casual ongoing? Do I want to experience polyamory? Do I want to experience alternate ways of relating? Or do I want to have a lifelong partner with children and a white picket fence and a mortgage? What do you want when you meet somebody? So who's going to come with me? So if you're after the white picket fence and the long-term commitment, and you've got somebody in front of you who's, oh, they're really nice for a one-nighter, let's go for that instead, that's fine. It's like, you don't have to be fixed on what you want. And you don't have to be, there's still room to flow, and see what
Mhm.
happens. So what do you want? Where are you going? Who's going to come with me? What are the qualities of them? How ambitious are they? Creative are they? Are they a lefty or are they a right winger? Are they interested in politics? Not interested in politics? Are they activists? Are they, have they got strong parenting skills? What are the qualities of them? Honesty, integrity? Are they passionate? What are the qualities that are important to you? And it's just, we can't sort of get a ready-made person for each of us. It's an off-the-rack world, and we've got to, we find somebody who's the best fit for us. And the third question we ask ourselves is, who do I have to be? Who do I have to be the person who's going to create and manifest, and they're two different things, to create and manifest the life that I want, the partner that I want, and maintain a relationship with that person? Who do I have to be? What qualities do I have to build in myself? Do I have to enhance? What skills? What is it in me that wants to come out to have this life? And so if you're single and you've got this under your belt and you meet somebody new, the next step is negotiation. So as soon as you meet somebody, you start negotiating. As soon as you meet somebody, start negotiating straight away. What do you want? You know, and there's still room for flow in here. It's a game. It's an adult game. When I left my wife, I was meeting women. Back in those days, it was done by telephone. This is pre-internet dating. And I meet these women for blind dates, and after having a chat on the phone, and get to know them, and for a few minutes, and then it was like, okay, if I felt like I wanted to spend some more time with this person, it would be, I'd state, this is what I'm looking for. What are you looking for? And if there was a match, that's fantastic. If there's some curiosity, that's fantastic. If you want something different, that's fantastic as well. I wish you the best luck in getting what you want, and buy. And it's two adults, because many of us, we don't have time to do the whole romantic thing these days. We've got so many demands upon us. But yeah, I'm getting sidetracked.
Getting that clarity, getting the conversation on the table right from the start, early on.
Yeah.
And not wait until it's too late, and then you discover you're wanting two different things. You're in a relationship with someone and both wanting two different things.
And this is what happens to many of us. We meet somebody, and it's just like, oh yeah, great sex, great connection. We're in passion. We're in that happy couple bubble, and we're really into each other. And it's like we enter a trance together, the honeymoon phase, as they call it.
Yeah,
and then
very true.
And then somebody wakes up out of the trance. It might take 3 months. It might take 6, 18 months. Somebody wakes up and goes, oh, I want to go over there. No, I want to go over there. And then in order to stay together, one or both had to compromise. And when you compromise, that leads to resentments, and resentments are very corrosive when it comes to relationships.
Indeed.
So having a clear idea on what do you want when you meet somebody. So you start negotiating straight away.
What if the other person doesn't know what they want?
Well, that's up to you to make the choice then of what do you want. So it's like you come back to that second question, who's going to come with me? Is that a quality that you want in somebody? If you're after something more casual, that's not a big deal. If you're a woman who's in her 30s or past 35, and the biological clock's ticking away, and you're meeting somebody and there's a certain endpoint that you're sort of focused on, meeting a man who, I don't know what I want, well, that's a warning bell not to get involved, so horses for courses, depends on what you want, So with creating an extraordinary relationship, where am I going? Who's coming with me? Who do I have to be? Is the first three things. Now, if you're already in a relationship, these have been decided already. So the next phase is negotiation. And if you're already in a relationship, the key to going forward is challenging conversations. And so it's easy to negotiate with somebody that you've just met. You haven't got that much invested, it's easier. It's still challenging for some of us to negotiate with anybody. But the more that you have invested in a relationship, the more of your heart, the more of your resources, your finances that you've got. If you've got children and you've got all this investment in the relationship, it's riskier to have challenging conversations. And so we tend to not talk about things that really matter to us. And the more that we don't talk about things that really matter to us, the further apart we drift. And so it comes down to those. Sorry?
Yeah, being honest is important. And
if you're not going to be honest with yourself, and you're not going to be honest with your beloved who you're committing to a life together, assuming that's what you're doing, well, where does honesty fit into your life?
Exactly.
So you've got the first three, and so you start negotiating. Now, negotiating, the more that you've got invested in a relationship, gets tough. It gets intense. So we need to learn the fifth step there is fair fighting. We need to learn how to fight. And we need to learn how to fight with honesty, with integrity, with love, with respect, so that we can engage with each other and we can say what we want to say, because when we're in a relationship and we've invested so much in a relationship, it means a lot to us. We're fighting for things that are important for us. We're fighting for our heart, for our love. We're fighting for our relationship. We're fighting for our children. It's like, we must learn how to fight fairly, and with that comes, emotional intelligence and how to deal with conflict and how to deal with our own effect and our own strong emotions, and how to deal with somebody else's strong emotions. So we come into that section of the framework where we need a whole set of skills. So the first three questions are about, our vision and where we're going. The next three are about negotiating, fighting fairly, dealing with conflict, having emotional intelligence, and self-awareness. We're not going to improve our relating unless we have self-awareness. We're not going to improve our capacity to deal with difference, to deal with negotiations, to deal with fighting and conflict, unless we have the capacity inside to observe ourselves and to take ownership for those times that we actually say and do things that are damaging to somebody else that we love, or are hurting somebody else that we love. And we need to take them back. Take ownership, apologize, move forward. It's not up for them to apologize to us, to forgive us. It's up to us to forgive ourselves and to take ownership. And this is where the skills are in this section of the framework. And we keep on coming back to this section all the time throughout our relationships. How do we negotiate our differences? How do we fight fairly? And how do we have emotional awareness when we're fighting fairly? Because it brings up strong emotions. And for some of us, it'll bring up our wounds from our early life, from our early family life. So our relationships as adults will quite often reflect some of the worst aspects of our early life. So we're dealing with really sensitive, vulnerable material inside of us. And so we need to get ourselves skilled up. And unfortunately, you can learn lots from listening to conversations like this, reading books, doing the course that I'm going to be creating and hopefully have available early next year. But the thing with relationships is it's a game where you learn on the spot. You can read and you can plan and you can have these skills, but when you're dealing with your inner emotions and in your head sort of going, oh, I should actually be empathizing here. Oh, I should be saying I statements here. And inside you're seething and all you want to do is something ridiculous. It's hard to be reasonable, And so relationship takes practice and practice and practice and practice.
Yeah, it's a skill. In fact, it's a learned skill.
There's a lot of learned skills. Yeah. And those learned skills get challenged every day when you're in an intimate relationship.
Indeed. For sure.
And the last part of the framework is around what's the glue that keeps you together? Is it great sex? Is it your spirituality? Is it power? Is it your intellect? Are you both academics and you like the academic world? You're both very deeply spiritual and deeply sexual, and you're looking for the nexus of sexuality and spirituality. What's the glue that brings you together and keeps you together? And you focus on that and you develop that between you. And so my big push, is that a fair statement? So my bias is around the nexus between sexuality and spirituality. So one of the most challenging things for people in long-term committed partnerships to do is to maintain an adventurous erotic sex life together. It's one of the things that people really struggle with, and and for some of us it's really important. And it's important not just to have an okay sex life. It's important to have a great whiz bang, yes, I love it, erotic life together. And so but to do that.
What is the secret? What is the secret to having that then long term?
Having a commitment from both of you to actually to do all those first 6 steps continuously, because you keep on coming back to those 6 steps. Whenever you have a difference in negotiating, who do I have to be? Okay, what do I want? What's the outcome? And how do I deal with my emotional, and you're working together all the time. If you want to integrate sex in your relationship, it's going to bring up your wounds. It's going to bring up where you're vulnerable. It's going to bring up your feelings. I taught Tantra for nearly 6 years. And I noticed there that, everybody who came to the groups, wants, I want all this pleasure in my life. This is, but, most people only want to experience that much pain and anguish. And, and the thing is that it's all the same. It's the same energy,
Yep.
It's all the same energy.
Two sides of the same coin, isn't it?
Sorry?
Sure. It's two sides of the same coin. It always echoes Brené Brown's words about vulnerability. Like you can't get up in the morning and armor up. You can't block the negative emotions, the sad emotions, the hard emotions, without at the same time blocking the lovely, joyful, high vibe emotions of excitement, bliss, joy, gratitude. Because you can't experience one and not the other. They're flip sides of the same coin. And to do that, you've got to open yourself up to being vulnerable. But most people associate vulnerability with weakness. As she says in her TED talk, the sign language sign for vulnerability is this: weak at the knees, right? But it's anything but. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And to open yourself up and really be yourself, be your authentic self, ask for what you want in a relationship, express your needs, and be vulnerable. Be prepared to love with no guarantee of being loved back. It's very true what you're saying. Our intimate relationships bring up a lot of deep-rooted issues, maybe connected to our childhood, but very deep-seated vulnerabilities in us about who we are and what we want. And I mean,
Yes.
I'm experiencing this myself at the moment in having been in a relationship for the last 3 months. So yeah,
And to come back to your question,
it's an important thing for us.
To come back to your question about what's the secret to a great sex life in a long-term relationship, there's great vulnerability in being real sexually with your partner. For many people, it's easy being real about the deep, dark desires that you really crave with a stranger, someone that you're not going to wake up with in the morning, or someone who's a short-term fling. But it's altogether different to reveal those darker sexual desires to our partner, who not only do we wake up in the morning, but they're the parent of our children. They know my mother and my father. It's like, and there's great risk involved, for many of us, for some of us, in being real. What really turns me on, what I really need and crave is, and that can be terrifying to say that to somebody who we love. The thought of being rejected or humiliated or judged by the person that we love most in the world because of a desire that we have is incredibly vulnerable. It takes incredible courage to open that door, like Alice in Wonderland, to open the door and to go into the rabbit hole, because you never know where you're going to end up. If you've got the courage to enter that realm together, you don't know where you're going to end up. And it's the beauty of it, it's the fear of it, and it's the ecstatic possibilities of it. And it will bring up your wounds and your triggers and your vulnerabilities, as well as all your joys and your ecstasy and pleasure. And then you need to go back to the beginning again. And what do I want? Who do I have to be? And what's one negotiating and dealing with all the emotional content that comes up when you're opening yourself to another human being, because you're opening yourself to yourself as well, not just to somebody else. It's a revelation. You're revealing yourself.